Wetland Agency by video conference and teleconference and Zoom and all that. Can we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. John Mailing,
Here.
Matt Pence,
Here.
John Levin,
Present.
Sarah Marin,
Here.
Jennifer Balliet,
Here.
and Cheryl Brown.
Here.
Great. Excellent. So we can jump to number 3, receipt and discussion, S21-574-8 Sunwich Road. This was all very interesting, but I couldn't find any inland wetlands.
Right. I will. I thought you might say that. So let me just start off with some aerial photos of the property. I'll share my screen in a second. And I see Bill Kinney for the application, but I don't actually see the applicant yet. So I'll start with kind of an overview of where it is, and then we'll keep an eye out for the applicant. So you're right. This is at the very limit of any inland wetlands. It's at the end of Rowayton. So on the left is Rowayton Avenue. Here is whatchamacallit Beach, Bailey Beach, and Weburn Beach Club. And Sunwich Road is here, and it's this property that's highlighted that would be developed. There is this small little intermittent water course and then associated wetland area along the back of the Weburn Beach Club property. And it actually drains to the north, goes under Pine Point Road, and then out into Farm Creek, which is a tidal creek. As I explained to the applicant, and I suspect that they will discuss the wetland evaluation additionally, but on the Weburn Beach Club property, there are a mix of tidal wetlands and inland wetlands. The state definition of inland wetlands is any poorly drained or very poorly drained or alluvial soil that is not a tidal wetland. And then if you go to the tidal wetland definition, it describes areas connected or previously connected to tidal waters that are at or below a certain elevation. And so in this location, there are tidal wetlands and that are poorly drained soils. And then there are poorly drained soils that are above that extreme high water plus 1 foot elevation. And that would make those poorly drained soils not tidal wetlands, but inland wetlands. So this property, the development of the property has already submitted a CAM, a coastal area management application through zoning. But I determined that they also need an application before you. And part of that is consistency. The Weburn Beach Club has been required to get inland wetland permits, as have the development of the 2 properties on Compass Road that are adjacent to this same wetland system. Let me look at who's here real quick. And Mr. White.
Yes, hi, my name's Tanner White. I'm the architect of record for 8 Sunwich. I joined a little bit late, so I think I missed the intro there, and I think I'm waiting for Bill Kinney.
Okay.
He's there.
Yeah, he's here. So I was just giving kind of an overview of the why I determined that the application requires an inland wetland permit, and the initial kind of description of why I have found that there are both tidal wetlands and inland wetlands in proximity to the property. And then just kind of also adding and giving it with that aerial overview shot, a indication of the very close proximity of the property to Long Island Sound. And so this is, even though I would say this is under the regulatory purview of the Inland Wetland Agency, it's certainly very different as far as what they would typically look at for protection of those inland wetlands.
Okay.
With that, I give the floor to the applicant.
Bill, do you want to start here?
I could give just a brief description of what we've done so far. And good evening. I'm Bill Kenny, the principal, William Kenny Associates, a professional wetland scientist and soil scientist, and was asked just recently, I think it's only in the last couple of weeks, to take a look. It was June 25th. Time flies. It's been a couple of weeks already. But we reviewed the property, did a wetland determination, delineation, and so based on what we were able to see with the information that we had at the time, it's our conclusion that the wetlands there are tidal wetlands that are on the property. I'm not sure off the property on the club's property what the elevations are, but it appears that on Sunwich, the wetlands are below the critical elevation, which is 1 foot above the high tide line or extreme high water. That's a summary of what we have done with the project, and to also assisted briefly with the submission of the application package. So if you have any questions about the development project itself, we'd be pleased to try to answer any questions you might have with regard to that. But it's remove an existing house and build a new house, and at the same time upgrade drainage systems and so forth.
Right, and so the survey that we have submitted to you guys is basically here. Apologies, you're going to hear my 3- and 2-year-olds screaming their heads off. But basically, you know, the plan here is that we are going to be removing the existing non-conforming, you know, FEMA not compliant house, building a 2.5-story residence here with an elevated, you know, lawn area here off the front. And, you know, again, here, this is where the tidal wetlands area here is shown. And then off the back of the house here, we have a covered balcony, a patio, and a raised pool with steps down to the lawn area back here. Again, you know, the house is going to be at, you know, elevation 16. The garage is basically going to be at grade. There's flood vents everywhere. I'm not sure what else to add into here, given that, you know, it's a little bit of a tricky application in the sense that, you know, I understand that there are, you know, our soil scientists has basically said that these are tidal wetlands, and but yet it was still deemed that we're supposed to be here. So I'm wondering if the best thing to do would be to just see if I could open it up to any kind of questions that you guys have, and we can go from there, or what you guys think should be the next best step.
One of the questions that I had for Lauren was and I think in Bill's report, he mentions beyond the existing fences where the wetlands start, and I see that the survey notes that as well. Will that fence remain?
So there's a bunch of invasive species that are here on the back of this this line, and we were talking with the landscape architect, and they were basically saying that while we can definitely keep the fence there, the plan was, which we thought might be beneficial, was to put a low retaining wall, or like a low stone wall there with the fence above, so that the fence doesn't, you know, go into any kind of rot or anything like that with the inland floods. But other than that, there will still be some kind of delineation with either a fence or a fence on top of a low wall, but yes.
Well, it seems to me that if, I mean, this plan is drawn up on the assumption that there are no inland wetlands or watercourses, and therefore the kinds of setbacks and other requirements that would be reflected in such a plan are not. So I guess what I would wonder is are the inland wetlands, to the extent that they exist, are they in the midst of the tidal wetlands, or are they separate from it? And if they are, what's the distance, and where specifically would they be if they were sketched in on this site plan?
Okay, so I think I attached on the web page the soil reports, but I don't think I was able to scan Weeburn's survey. So hold on a second. Let me see if I can bring up a map with topography. Pretty much just beyond the property line are areas of inland wetlands. Let me
Here, I'll stop sharing my screen so you can share.
okay. A second here. Of course, it's very, as I tried to do something, it's very slow. It's loading.
Okay. While she's working on that, can I ask, what are the non-conforming issues with the current house?
What are the non-conforming issues you said?
Yeah.
It's just not FEMA compliant. That's it. It's not FEMA compliant, and I believe it's actually over the setbacks. But it was, granted, it's not really that pertinent for this meeting. It was just something that I brought up.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, so this is the survey of the existing house. So it's at elevation 9. So way the flood elevation, and then the front of the house is sticking out over the setback. So we're bringing it into conformity and making it FEMA compliant.
Okay. Just
So-
working on-
I understand the applicant is stating that these are not inland wetlands. They are tidal wetlands and therefore not covered under our jurisdiction. And Alexis, the environmental officer, is stating disagreement, or where are?
no,
what
I
are we
wouldn't
doing here?
disagree that the sliver of wetlands of poorly drained soils on number 8 Sunwich is all above elevation 6.4, which makes them I mean, yes, all below elevation 6.4, which makes them tidal wetlands.
So is an application to this commission necessary?
Yes, so there are wetlands. I can't get my thing to load, but let me just go back to the aerial photo. To answer Mr. Mailing's question, this area in here, just zoom in. From behind Compass Road and these other lots on Sunwich into the area where my cursor is until about around here is inland wetlands. And then all this area further down is underlain by tidal wetlands.
So by definition of soil samples,
Mhm.
it is inland wetlands. Is there any
Okay.
other characteristic of inland wetlands that it exhibits? Is it, I mean, is there fresh water visible? Is there?
So there are these, I'd call them, I don't know if they quite meet the definition of a intermittent watercourse. This area here is slightly more defined and more likely to meet the definition of a intermittent watercourse than the ditch that runs parallel to the rear of Sunwich. That those collect, a watershed, and so these are fresh water, non-tidal little streams that then head to the north and out to Farm Creek. And again, I'm just trying to be consistent with the permit requirements that have been required of 2 Compass Road when it was developed, and then the permits that were required back when Weburn was doing their driveway and parking lot work.
Okay.
And those reports that Weburn provided indicated that there were inland wetland portions along the area that's shown on this GIS map. And then likewise to Compass Road hired an additional separate wetland scientist who determined that that soil scientist found no tidal wetlands in the vicinity of 2 Compass, which is this property here, but did find inland wetland soils. So I'm just trying to be consistent and determine that the soils found by the soil scientist that looked at 2 Compass as well as the Weburn property are within 50 feet of the Sunwich property. But again, I do agree that the area on Sunwich is generally below that 6.4 foot elevation that would make it tidal wetlands.
Well, I totally agree that it's important to be consistent and treat everyone the same. But we can't do that with the information that we have at the moment. I wonder if it might not be the next most likely or most practical step from the standpoint of trying to, not cause undue difficulty to the applicant to have an overlay made to the existing site plan that would show the intermittent water course or the possible intermittent water course. And then we would be able to see the extent to which the various requirements and setbacks apply to the demolition and rebuild that's being put before us. I don't know how difficult it would be. I shouldn't think it would be too difficult. But then we can deal with to basically determine whether or not the property as it's being proposed is set back far enough or suitably set back from the water course. And if it isn't, to discuss that at the time, but I don't see what we can do with what we have. We've got an application that doesn't recognize the inland wetlands. understandably, based on their scientific research. And it just seems the most practical way to move forward on this would be to give them the opportunity to superimpose the an inland wetlands site plan.
Can I ask a question? Based on Alexis's explanation, it appears as if neighboring properties contain inland wetlands, and this property, the property of the applicant, contains tidal wetlands, and that the difference between the two is only elevation, nothing else. Is that correct?
Yes, that's pretty much correct, in my opinion.
Okay. So there is a gradient line somewhere, probably off the property, where on one side of the line, the elevation is tidal, and on the other side of the line, the elevation is inland. And then the question is that line within 50 feet of the property? If it's not within 50 feet of the property, as I understand it, we do not have anything to discuss here. If it is within 50 feet of the property, then we have something to discuss. Is it possible for that line to be identified, and even though it's on a neighboring property? And can we determine whether or not, our jurisdiction applies?
Sure. So I can certainly make that map. I can't make it right now, but I can certainly put together all of the wetland maps that I have and make an overlay that as carefully as possible finds that line for you.
And how do you do that? I mean, we're talking like on one side it's inches lower, and on the other side it's inches higher. I mean, what kind of tool do you have? I mean, Google Maps is not going to tell you, where that line is. So what do you, how do you know what your elevation is?
So they are here because I have gone through that exercise and determined that they are within 50 feet of that wetland.
Okay.
And what I looked at were their survey. Well, they gave me a site plan based on a survey. The survey from Weburn Beach Club and the survey from 2 Compass Road. So I took either the site plan that has topo information or a topographic land survey and measured off all 3 of those, where that elevation was, or where in some cases where there is a drawn line between inland wetland and tidal. Drew those in and determined that the inland wetland line is within 50 feet of this property. But you're correct to Mr. Mailing's point. In order to better evaluate, I suppose you should know more exactly where that line is.
I think that's where we are. I think that's where we have to be. We have to have something that's very specific that shows that which is inland wetlands and what it is that the applicant is proposing, and then as a commission discuss and decide how most judiciously to address that. It doesn't seem to me that it would be particularly onerous to do that. It should take time. Can't do it right on the spot.
But it could be as simple as just measuring off those existing surveys, correct, Alexis? Like not even needing to produce a new map. Is that right?
Right. I mean, I think, right. I think that we can, I can call you tomorrow and I think we can both look at all the maps that I do have and then draw in the upland review, the limit of the upland review line on the submitted site plan.
Okay.
And just, I'm asking really out of ignorance and wish to be educated. Does the vintage of those maps matter? This coastal area seems to be a place that is going to have elevations altered with every, category 1 storm that comes through. you know, in the late summer or early fall. And I mean, quite frankly, I think in 10 or 20 years, the whole peninsula is going to be underwater anyway.
Fair enough. I'm just using the information that I have available.
Okay.
And just to go back to why it's before you, the state statute does not pre-evaluate wetlands. So it says that whenever there's an inland wetland, activities are regulated and comes before an inland wetland agency. It doesn't say that you have to protect those, or that there are, in our regulations have no mandatory setbacks. So just going back to kind of the impact analysis, when you think about where those wetlands are relative to the tidal wetlands, I don't know if it, let's see how to say this, matters as much as other wetlands that you've seen. There are, as it's shown, there are tidal wetlands directly to the rear of the existing fence, and somewhere beyond that property line are also some inland wetlands. And so I don't think that your analysis of potential impacts will change much depending on where that line is. You know what I mean?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I think that based on my experience, this is the smallest defined wetland area that I've ever had to deal with.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change the fact that it exists, and therefore we are obligated to treat with it. It does still seem to me that you and Mr. Kenny could work out something that would give us a more specific picture of what we're dealing with. And then we could come to a quick resolution of this.
Sounds good.
Do we need a motion?
No,
Okay.
I don't know what motion you'd make, but you can't make a
Commissioners,
decision
any
on it tonight
other
since it's
comment
the
from
receipt.
commissioners or from the applicant?
So my only question would really just be, so if it's determined that there are inland wetlands, you know, this small little pocket of inland wetlands on an adjoining property within a certain distance, how would that change our application? What further information would we need to provide at that point?
I don't see it changing much other than going back to that, defining your limit of disturbance. That goes back to my question about the fence, is kind of figuring out for all the site work, where does the site work end relative to the wetland, and will you have adequate sedimentation or erosion control wherever that end point is, so that it doesn't impact inland wetlands.
So basically it's hard to determine where that line's going to be because you don't have this line on the adjacent properties. Is that what I'm understanding? But like, because for me, I'd rather say, okay, we're not going to touch the fence if we can get through it now. But if that's not an option, obviously.
So part of, I think if you saying that, you know, the fence is the line, I think that that's very, very helpful. No matter where the limited disturbance is, the agency is not allowed to make a decision, yes or no, on the application tonight. They're required by state statute to receive an application and then wait 14 days to make a decision. So,
I understand. So, okay, so what's the next step? You're going to talk to Bill tomorrow, and then
I will. I'm fine with drafting a map that shows all of the information that I accumulated and how I came to the determination that your project is within 50 feet of an inland wetland. And I will just vet that with Bill Kenny so he can look at that information. And then we would have you on the next agenda. I would include a draft resolution for potential approval that the commission can take or leave and boot to the next meeting.
That's an
Those
excellent,
would be the next steps.
yeah, that's an excellent plan, I think.
And when's the next meeting?
2
It
weeks
will-
from now.
Yes, it would probably end up being on August 10th,
Oh,
which
that's
would still be in time for your decision at the next the
Au-
zoning meeting.
August 10th. That's 4 weeks from now.
Yes. We tentatively may not be having a meeting the second week of, or the fourth week of July,
Okay.
but we'll keep you posted.
So, just to have finalized my previous inquiry, Alexis and Bill Kenny will discuss the topography, and I guess from that will come a line on neighboring properties that is inland wetlands, and from that line can be derived another line, which would be the review area, the upland review area from those inland wetlands, and that line may or may not fall, or no, does fall onto 8 Sunwich, but we don't know how much of it, where on the property it would be. Are you able to paint approximately the upland review area line onto the site plan?
Well, if somebody gives me where that line
Right.
is, and
Yep.
give that, yeah, I mean, I can give that.
I guess I'm really asking Alexis and Bill, if you talk about where the inland wetlands are, then you can determine where the upland review area is, and then you can basically, if necessary, hand draw onto the site existing site plan what it is we're talking about. Is that correct?
I'm confident we could do that. with-
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be, that'll get us to where we need to be, as far as I can tell.
Okay, sounds
Oh, you
good.
get us where?
I will-
It'll get us to an understanding. I mean, realistically,
Oh, yeah, right, yes. Yes,
how much of
I'm
8 Sunwich
thinking-
falls
I'm-
into the upland review area?
Yeah, in my mind, I'm trying to think if it were, if all goes, the way we've discussed, and if Alexis and Bill Kenny can sort of hammer things out, and it's possible to draft a resolution, we might be able to explore the possibility of having a short meeting on the 27th to give the applicant a little bit more time to move on with their project, if that's, where we fetch up. I would just like to propose that as a possibility, Alexis, knowing that, we may have just a minimum number of people at a meeting on the 27th.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's just, that is something else that could be looked at, so that they don't have to wait, everything else being, copacetic, that they don't have to wait until August 10th if there's a way to get it done earlier.
Sounds good. We'll iron that out, and we will keep the applicant posted if we can
Perfect,
get some additional meetings in.
perfect. Love it when a plan comes together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kenny and Mr. White, for your patience, and we'll get on this.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we have discussion and decision items. Under section 4, S21 573 40 Princess Pine Road, the corrective action, if you want to call it that, has been undertaken, and I gather from notes of staff that we're at a point where we can resolve to move this forward. I presume Mr. Tate is here somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Ms.
Yes.
Kelly? Okay, welcome
We
back.
are ready.
Yeah,
We are
okay.
ready.
good. All right, well, welcome back.
Thank you.
So yes, at your last meeting, you had some further discussion regarding the corrective action plan and made some suggestions to the applicant as far as all manner of things, tree species.
Correct.
I think that was the main thing. And so the applicant did submit a revised planting plan, which I can share real quickly. Just find it.
Oh, wrong job.
Yeah.
We're back to someone.
Down to you. Where are you? And so I'll just zoom into the planting schedule.
That's
So two red, sorry about the sticky notes, 2 red maples, 2 white oaks, 4 Norway spruce, and 5 Amelanker or serviceberry. And then additionally, 3 red spruce, and then a mix of shrubs, including summer sweet, red twig, dogwood, and winterberry.
correct.
All of those except for, I think, I did not count these 4 evergreens that are just outside of the upland review area in any of as part of the wetland mitigation planting, only the shrubs and trees within the upland review area. So that's really it, a mix of trees. Most of the trees, again, are kind of concentrated in the southeast corner where the 2 large oak trees had been removed by a neighbor. And that's the
Okay.
plan.
Thank you, Alexis. Commissioners, any comments or questions on the revised plan? Okay, we have staff has drafted.
Yeah, I quick question. At the last meeting, I think, Mr. Tate, you had indicated that you would be willing to include an oak, a baby oak, to begin the 100-year process of replacing the large mature oaks that were removed from the property. Am I getting that right?
Yes, we added 2.
Two were proposed.
Okay, so okay, and that was part of the summary that Alexis just read, and I
Yes.
missed it.
Yes.
Okay. Then I
Yeah, so
apologize.
here's
See it, the quercus bicolor? That's
Got it.
small point of-
My apologies.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
The corrective action plan includes, and as it's described in staff's memorandum of July 7th, it includes 2 oaks, 2 maples, and some others, as was discussed amongst us at our last meeting. That resolution proposes that, subject to certain conditions, that the application for resolution of corrective action be approved. But that would require a motion. Do I hear one from anyone? As long as there's no other comments or concerns about this correction.
I move to approve this plan. I second the
Okay,
motion. Second.
Good. It's moved by John Levin and seconded by Maren that we will approve S521-573, subject to the conditions laid out in the memorandum of July 7th. That's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, a verbal vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The application's granted, and we can move on to Well, I've got to get back to my agenda here. Okay, 40 Princess Pine Road, Part 2. And this is the in-ground pool application with associated retaining walls adjacent to wetland work, cars S21 569. And again, we have a resolution which is basically, which describes the situation as it is. I had a concern about the back and forth with the Department of Health on the septic, but I gather that we're really just talking about a reserve, a reserve site.
That's correct.
And that the Board of Health has decided that there is an adequate reserve site. And as far as the Inland Wetlands Commission is concerned, the only time that we would get involved with that is if that site had to be activated. And that would require a new application for us to take a look at any possible impacts. So
Correct.
that's off the table as far as this particular application is concerned. I'm not seeing, I guess, without making a motion or asking that it be included in some way, if somebody could get out someday in a dry day with a rake and move some of the damn wood chips away, I wouldn't mind. But I'll leave that one where it is. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this application before we take a look at staff's resolution? Hearing none, then I'll take it on myself to move to approve application S21-569, the installation of the pool, subject to the conditions that are outlined in the July 7th memorandum from staff to the commission. I can't remember whether I said that this is number 521-569, but I'll S21-569, but I'll say it again. I move that this application be granted. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jennifer seconds it, and we can have a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the application is granted. The motion passes. And Ms. Kelly, if you're listening, good luck.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you very much.
For your patience.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Send that off to you later this week.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Okay. Now we're down, we are at letter C under Roman numeral 4, which is S21-570, 40 Fullen Road. Is anybody here from the applicant at all?
Yes.
Yes,
We have Mr. Lindy Andrea.
correct.
So just to give you an update, this has been tabled for a few meetings because you had determined that it would be a benefit to hire a third-party consultant to review the wetland impacts, since the applicant is proposing a loss of wetlands and in return a creation of wetlands. And Ed Pollock, who is a wetland scientist, was retained, and he did his site inspection and his report. And that is posted on the city's website, and I think I emailed it to you commissioners. And so it is a significant regulated activity, so a public hearing will be required. And so that's kind of my intro, and then we'll see what Mr. DeAndrea has to say, and then circle back, and maybe we can schedule that public hearing potentially for your August 10th meeting.
I would be interested in hearing the reaction from the applicant to the third-party report that I found very interesting with the photographs.
Shall I?
Yes, please.
Leonard DeAndrea, a Connecticut professional engineer with DeAndrea Surveying and Engineering PC, and we are providing the surveying and engineering services for the applicant. We were pleased because I think we both agree that having this project come in, especially for the western wetland, we can make great improvements to it, remove a lot of invasives, reintroduce the appropriate vegetation. So that's a good improvement. He talked about the wildlife. He didn't see it as a significant wildlife corridor. He'd like us to look at the alternatives for the wetland crossing, which again, it worked out very nicely. It's the most narrow part of the wetland on the southerly side for our crossing on the westerly side. 3 basic options to look at. Even in his report, he felt because of the lack of major wildlife movement, a culvert might be just fine. So we'll take a look at that and respond to it. We've had some engineering comments. We have this report now. So now we're looking to tweak our plans and be ready for a public hearing as soon as you can schedule us with, I think is an August 10th date. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, August 10th.
So I think we're looking pretty good. It's been well received. There were some comments also we received from Westport. They've had a review on it. No major concerns there. The easterly wetlands in the report too was mentioned as being a higher quality wetlands. So same thing again there, we're protecting that, and there's going to be some enhancement. So we're looking forward to presenting the project when we get the opportunity.
Have you received comments from regarding your stormwater plan yet? From
Yeah, we
Public
actually
Works?
got those a little while back, and
Okay.
what we've done is one of the comments too was test pits. We've done that. The other thing too on our initial submission is we did it's almost an iteration. We did our initial grading plan, prepared the plans, submitted it, did a bunch of calculations. And what we're trying to do now is accomplish a project that has very little exporting of excess material. The test pits also approved that, I guess as you might expect, given a kind of a low area, the subsoils are minimal in that they're not the highest infiltration quality, but then also we were encountering some higher ledge. So when we did our volume calculations, we realized we're generating quite a bit of fill, and we're going to reduce that in 2 ways. One is to start raising the site itself. So instead of say a first floor at 99, it might be 100 or 101 when we do our final tweak. The other thing too is we're going to eliminate most, if not all, basements. Instead, where the easterly and westerly sides prove out to be an appropriate location to have a walkout, that we may have that. Otherwise, from the looks of things, we're probably going to eliminate a lot of those, if not all, the basements. And that eliminates quite a bit of unnecessary digging. We asked the client the options. Do you want to do basements, crawl spaces, or slab on grade? And then their decision is you either have a basement or you do slab on grade. So it looks like the way we're heading here is to minimize earthwork in pretty much almost all these units, except for maybe a handful on the easterly and westerly side, will be slab on grade.
Okay. Alexis, any response to that?
No, no, I generally, the less disturbance, the better. So it sounds good.
I would say, from having visited the site, there's a couple of things. First of all, to address the access road, which is the most important thing as far as we're concerned in wetlands, I would very much favor the use of a box culvert, a drop-in box culvert, not because there's an existing wildlife passage that's common and continuous along those lines, but to make it possible for such a thing to exist if it ever might arise. If we do a good job with the wetland, we might even get a few some improvement, and having you know, a box culvert without a man-made base, I think would contribute to at least the possibility of an improvement of the wetlands. The other, and you know, I must say, having visited it, that the invasives are so thick and so overwhelming that you can hardly see anything. It's a trick. You have to use the schematics to be able to know where the swale is. There are some really impressive tall trees in that western area. And, you know, I hope very much that plans can be laid out in such a way as to preserve those trees, because that's a matter of canopy that the city is strongly devoted to, and which is very important for conservation. And that's an area that's so densely built up that the fact that these trees even exist still is terrific. And I'm sure that there's a way that they can be preserved as the invasives are cleared away. But anyway, those are my reactions to both the letter from the new scientist and from my own visit.
If I could comment on that, we have no problem. The box culvert is fine. There's certainly not much differential in cost. I think you mentioned an open bottom. Is that a preference to see an open bottom instead of a four-sided? That's not a problem. Done that many
Yes.
times. You know, the other good part.
I should point out, it's just my preference. I would definitely defer to staff, but I think I've heard them described before, and to me that seems like the most natural way to facilitate it.
It is, and I see staff nodding their head, and yes, that's very true. The other part that I didn't mention is, but it was mentioned as part of the site itself. This is a large parking lot, so our westerly line of, or let's call it the demarcation wall, is set back from the westerly edge of that parking lot, which is great. So we're going to be removing some of that asphalt that's there now, which is basically up against the watercourse, and adding more buffer to it. The stand of trees that's to the west and then to the east and some to the north, that's great. If we've got to clean out the invasive, the trees that remain, it'll cast some nice shadows in the afternoon. So it can be a wonderful site. The other thing too, I don't know if it was ever mentioned in the first go around, but the site is kind of deceiving in itself too. You would think you're dropping down into a hole, a low level, and you are initially, but by the time you get to the easterly end, the elevation in the easterly end pretty much matches the roadway of Fulton. So when this project is completed, it won't look like it's down in the hole. It'll be fairly elevated across the site, so it's lower, but not extremely lower than Fulton. It's going to look quite nice.
I must say, I didn't notice the difference. The easterly is the easterly portion where there's, I guess it's a condo complex that's over there that stretches along the easterly side. Some kind of, yeah. I mean, wandering around over there, it's just so overgrown that it's almost impossible. I mean, if you say it rises up there, well, I can see that it would, because it's just looms overhead.
Right.
Anyway, thank you for that response, Mr. DeAndrea. That's very satisfying. Anybody else have any comments or questions on this? We're going to have a public hearing on August 10th, so there's going to be a lot of opportunity for input here. But between now and then, you know, it would seem to me, based on where we are now, that we ought to be able to get it all resolved. But you know, we'll see.
So, and I would just reiterate to pay attention to the existing tree canopy within the upland review area. From the few public comments that just staff has received, that is something that has come up. So the potential reduction of grading is fantastic if that can lead to some pockets of existing tree stands remaining, all the better. Particularly within the upland review area, obviously for this agency.
Great. Well, we seem to be well on track with this project, and so thank you again, Mr. DeAndrea. And
thank you.
I don't think there's anything more for tonight.
Just to, you would make a motion to schedule that public hearing on August 10th.
Okay, quick question. Is there any response to some of the recommendations and observations regarding the mitigation plan? There were some questions in the third-party report on what looks like page 5. You guys go through that, or do you have any comments?
Well, the report is fairly new. It's being distributed, and as we move towards the public hearing, as I said, our plans, as well as our landscape plans, will be modified, addressed, or changed to address these comments. There's nothing in here from our reviews from both our landscape side and our engineering side that leads us to a block. You know, it seems fine. We're going in the right direction.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, well, if there's nothing more, then we will proceed apace and see you on the 10th, Mr. DeAndrea.
You have to take that.
But I still need a motion.
Oh, yeah, right. We do need a motion. Okay, I'm so moved. I invite a second.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to place S21 570 to a public hearing on August 10th. Any conversation, any comments?
Beginning at 7 p.m.
Say again?
Beginning at 7 p.m.
Yeah, beginning, okay, beginning at
And I
7.
would venture to say it will be a digital meeting.
It will be a what?
Another digital meeting.
Oh, digital meeting, yeah, sure, I'm sure it will be. Okay, fortunately, we're not going to be looking at digital trees. We'll have actually real trees. Again, thank you, sir. And
Thank you.
we will, we actually have to take a vote on that motion, having moved it and seconded it. All in favor, please signify, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Now I think I can,
See you on the 10th. Thank you very much.
yeah, it's like, we can go now. We can move now.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, moving to Part D, 20 Granite Drive, Lizardo. Do we have what we need on this, Alexis?
So this application was received at your last meeting, and after the initial review at that receipt, there were some comments. I think Commissioner Clockey, who is not here tonight, suggested that the applicants provide more detail. I think he had listed the 3 areas, the rear wetland, the front wetland, and then the driveway area. He felt needed more specificity and detail. I'll work on sharing my screen. So the applicant submitted and these are on the application webpage as well. They submitted a revised plan and some photos. So I'll share the revised plan. So it's my recollection, and the Lizardos are here, they can correct me if I'm wrong, the information in the thicker blue writing was on the previously submitted plan, and it's the information in the thinner blue pen that indicates the new information. So there are some X's that equal arborvitae or green giant and more wetland seed. Wild look, and then there's the note I don't know if that's minus 50 or 50% of rocks to be removed. Right. Oh, photo. So that's his photo. And then we spoke directly to Alexis with visit, not a big deal.
How is the driveway? I don't see the difference. Is the dotted line just to the right of the blue line what exists or what was proposed before, as far as that little bit of driveway area concerned?
Let me just go back to the
That's the old one.
That's
Right.
the old one. Yep. And then,
And the new one seems the same,
oops.
but it's hard to tell.
Hold
Not
on.
very much of a difference.
Okay, so it's, I see, so he just kind of drew the line there. And then let me show you the photo. So I don't know if this, obviously Steve Clocky is not here tonight. If this meets kind of what he had in mind for the additional clarification. These are photos from the applicant of the front wetland. And applicant, you can chime in, but this is the, I believe that this photo is taken from standing in the driveway, which was just off on the right side of the page. And this is where the culvert that's under the driveway discharges into the front wetland. Let me just reduce our size here. And so it's these rocks that were noted as the issue in the order. So it's the amount of rocks within this portion of the wetland. The boulders are the limit of the wetland. So again, this is the front of the house. This is that front wetland, and the amount of rocks is greater than the amount of vegetation. And then another photo. So applicant, I don't know if you'd like to add anything?
As you can see from the photos, we will like to move at least 50% of this rock out of the way, and understand that, it's important to the environment that this rock get moved. So by hand, we'll be moving it, no machinery. It will be done by hand.
Would you put the excess rock somewhere else on the property?
No, this is probably gonna leave the property. It's gonna leave the property.
Well, it seems to me the applicant is response is most accommodating both to the concerns of the commission and to the quality of the environment. It's encouraging. I think we'll be able to get this resolved very quickly. But I'm not sure we're in a position to take action tonight. Alexis, do we have enough information?
I did not
best to
do
have
a
a
resolution
before
because I
we,
didn't know what your comments might be.
I'd like to see more specificity on the wetland seed mix and also the size of plants that are going to be planted. If you can provide that, that would be very helpful.
I intend on adding 5 ilex in the rear. And they are a 10-gallon pot. I did purchase them, yes, but they are still on hold at Corbel Nurseries.
Okay,
They're
5
10-gallon
gallons
pots.
would be great.
Yeah, it's 10-gallon pot.
10 gallons, sorry, 10 gallon would be great.
Yeah, the yard really needed a bigger plant for the space that we damaged, so I started with a nice sized plant. The wetland seed mix, I am getting 35 pounds. We don't know when it's going to be shipped yet, but I can provide a receipt, as I did one time before, for the commission to actually see how much wetland seed we're going to put down. And we are going to spread it rear, all the areas that I spoke with Alexis around. just to give more definition to everybody out listening. This is all going to be around everywhere that we worked around or did some damage to. We're expecting to fix it the same as it was previously.
Okay, and do you have a size for the green giants as well?
The green giants that are, I planted them already. They've been there.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wasn't at the last meeting.
And the rear plants are about I would say 6 to 8 feet tall.
Okay, thank you.
So the map is showing just the existing location of the green giants. You're not proposing any additional green giants, correct?
Alexis, is that for me? I'm sorry. I didn't
Yeah,
hear
that was for you.
Sorry.
Those
Say
are
it
those are the existing green giants, not you're not proposing to plant additional.
Oh, no, no
Yeah.
additional. This is, there's plenty back there.
Okay.
What was back there?
And so then in the front wetland, you would be overseeding with the native seed mix as well?
Where the plants are going.
Confirm.
The seed mix is going to go pretty much everywhere where we passed through and did any damage.
Okay.
I calculated the amount of pounds by the length of feet. So we should have plenty. I've done this before to this property and it's really worked well. So, you know, the seed mix should be in very shortly. I'll provide, where do we buy that from? Valley Green? Valley Green Nurseries. It's a special order. Not that everybody has wetland seed available, but I guess there was a shortage or something last year. So,
I didn't know that. Okay. Alexis, I'm wondering whether we might be able to kind of piggyback onto the Sunwich Road thing and see if it's possible to move towards a potential resolution that we might take up on if we're able to pull together a quorum on the 27th.
Okay.
I mean, I think we've all had a chance to talk about the things that concern us here and to and the latest schematic is not exactly, you know, in full-fledged and formal detail, but it's clear what it is that Mr. Losardo is planning to do, and I, for one, am perfectly persuaded that he's going to do every single thing he said he was going to do. So if we could come up with a resolution that we can discuss on the 27th, why I think that would, you know, probably speed things up a little bit.
Okay.
All right.
I can draft something.
Anybody have any further comments or questions or anything for Mr. Soto while he's here or on this application? Hearing none, then I'll just say thank you yet again, Mr. Losardo, and we'll be in touch very soon.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah.
All right, we're down now to the approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any comments about the minutes from June 22nd?
Alexis,
I read them over. I didn't see any. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Alexis is very thorough in her minutes. I don't know if she writes them or someone else does, but they're really good. That's my only comment. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
There you go. Just take a bow, you know, victory lap type thing. All right. Okay. I move that the minutes for June 22nd, 2021 be approved as submitted.
I second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, voice vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public comments. Do we have anybody on the line? Alexis?
No, we do not have anyone wishing to speak.
Okay. then we come to comments of staff. And,
Okay, so first I wanted to introduce Amelia Williams. She is our Zoom meeting tech tonight. Often in the past, it's been Michelle or a variety of different people, but Michelle is, not Michelle, oh my gosh. Amelia is our land use technician. And I think I had mentioned a while ago that Brenda's, for some of you who have been around for a while might remember Brenda Hertanic, who previously owned a fish named Romeo. She was the environmental compliance officer. And previously there was only one environmental compliance officer in all of the city of Norwalk. And then in zoning, there was a zoning inspector. And they both did a lot of inspections and kind of multitasking in their specialties. And with the physical combining of the conservation office and the zoning commission, the zoning planning and zoning department, it was determined that we might be better off having 2 land use technicians. So Amelia is the first land use technician to be hired. She actually has experience in the zoning, planning and zoning office as a compliance assistant before getting promoted. How long has it been now? I was just looking on my calendar. I don't have it on my calendar. March?
As a land use tech, that was January.
That was January. Oops. So I wanted to introduce you to her. She'll be your doing a lot of as we catch up. She'll start to be doing more of your kind of inspections and the fun stuff.
Okay.
So, and we'll also try to have her do most of our meetings as well. So she kind of gets to see.
How
what
is
you
the
guys
city
are
doing with its hybridized meeting discussions?
So then, right, the legislative session made some changes. The governor's orders, which allowed these digital meetings, expired July 1st. And in its place were passed some new rules as far as municipal meetings or any public meetings. And I will be sending out kind of a memo synopsis. The legislature allows for hybrid meetings or virtual meetings or in-person meetings from starting July 1st until sometime in April 2022. And then after that, we'll have to figure it out. I'm still awaiting more information as far as hybrid meetings from the mayor's office. But it's my understanding, and we can maybe kind of delve into this once I kind of finish a memo outlining everything. But basically, I think that if we have a virtual meeting, if one of you asks for a in-person experience, I think we can accommodate you, but it may only be one of you. And likewise, if we continue with go back to an online or a in-person meeting, and if any one of you wants to have a digital meeting, we need to be able to accommodate that, and so that you can stay at your house. So how we do that, I don't really know yet, but we're working on it.
My contribution is going to be to stop asking about hybridized meetings from here on through. Okay, that'll be my
So City Hall is now completely open. So I have restarted posting the agenda, all the things that we used to do that we didn't need to do because no one would see them. We now physically post the agenda outside of our offices and do stuff like that. So I will keep you posted as we kind of figure out what all of the new laws actually mean to us in the day and day. And then the other thing that I just wanted to bring up is that the zoning commission is doing a zoning rewrite. They're kind of doing a complete overhaul of the zoning regulations, and there will be a kickoff meeting for interested citizens on July 29th in the evening. So I can send you all that flyer. It's I think it hit the presses this afternoon. So I wanted to confirm that it wasn't a draft, that I could send it out first. But once I get that confirmation, I'll send it to you if you're interested. A lot of changes in potentially in the way that the city regulates its zoning, and hopefully the incorporation of more green and sustainable practices in mind. So that's all that I have.
Okay, all right, any commissioner comments? Okay, I would just say that, you know, if everybody would just kind of like mark your calendars, but very, very lightly and in pencil, 2 weeks hence, because we might actually be able to have a very short meeting where we could cope without Alexis if it came to that, because we wouldn't really be doing anything creative. You know, we would sort of let you know. And I guess what we need to do, I don't know how you communicate that to Ed and Steve, but you know, it just seems like it's possible that we might be able to get something done between now and August 10th. And if that opportunity arises, I think it would be good to take it. It may not, and then we'll just deal with it on, you know, August 10th. But I just wanted to say that I think that it would be good if we could, if we possibly could. And I don't have anything more than that. Again, anybody else have something to chime in on? If not, then I think we have done reasonably well here. It's been, it's only about 7:20. And we just need somebody to actually make a motion. Steve usually does that.
I'll make a motion. Second meeting.
Okay, cool. Second, anyone?
I'll second it.
Okay, cool. Then we're good. All in favor? Hands? Aye. We may see you in 2 weeks. We will definitely see you guys on the 10th. Be well.
Take care.
Night.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.